Greetings and welcome to Hacks Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we're going to be taking the first steps in our playthrough of Japan in the game Hearts of Iron 4. Now, I did a poll on my channel and offered 4 Paradox games, all of which were going to be based on a playthrough as Japan. And the 4 choices were Crusader Kings 3, Europa Universalis 5, Victoria 3, and Hearts of Iron 4. And Hearts of Iron won pretty easily by a good 10% over all the other ones. And so Hearts of Iron is going to be the one I'm going to do my playthrough in. Now, ironically, originally I was planning to only do the first 3 as offers, and decided I would add Hearts of Iron, and should have known that with World War II being so intriguing a topic, that would be the winner, and it was. So we are going to play as Japan. So in this video, we're going to do a pretty quick kind of introduction and then get into gameplay. So we are going to play in January of 36 as our starting point, so that we can have the greatest impact on my plan, shall we say, to win this game, or at least do very well as Japan. So if you're unfamiliar with the game, this is kind of where you start off, and you pick your country, and these are the major powers, of course. And then you can also click this one and select from any of the other playable countries as you wish. So if we click on the picture of Emperor Hirohito here, you can see it talks about him, but he is actually not in charge of the government per se. That man is this gentleman down here, Kaisuke Okada. He is a non-aligned ideology, which means he's neither democratic nor fascist. And the government, of course, is at this point in time an authoritarian regime. The next elections for Japan are shown here in January of 1940, and the name of the ruling party is the Kyokoku Ichi Naikaku, right? So you also can see some of their the decisions they can make, some of the national focus available for them, and then some information about them, the cabinet here, and everything has some kind of impact on various things in the game, as you would expect, right? The state Shintoism, its effect on making the nation more militaristic, I guess you could say, right? Harder to make them surrender, and more support for war. And we also have the early industrialization efforts. This is what I'm going to be focusing on first. Japan starts in a somewhat inferior position in terms of their industry and economy. So I am going to, in the run-up to actually having to fight with China, I'm going to run to try and get the industry and the economy on track, because having them be more industrialized will obviously be necessary if we are to not only defeat China, but also to take on either the Soviet Union or the Western allies, the UK and the United States, as took place historically. I've not yet decided what path we'll pursue. First focus will be the economy, the second focus will be China, and then after that we'll see where we go. And of course, militarism. And we have a brief history here about, Japanese, the empire standing at a crossroads. They have a northern expansion doctrine, which is favored by the army and calls for an advance into Siberia, while the southern doctrine is supported by the Navy and is looking at the European colonies in Southeast Asia, which are rich in things like oil and rubber, things that will be needed by the military to conduct our expansionist policies. And speaking of which, there's always China. Japan possesses a formidable military, but its industries are starving for resources and time is running out. Which path to choose, right? So you have the Army and the Navy rivalry. Army wants to push north through China into Siberia. The Navy prefers to expand south and east towards the Pacific Islands, and taking over the Pacific itself and all of the richness of all of its resources. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry about that. All right, so I'm going to click this. We're going to hit select country, and there it is. Now we have not started yet. The start button, of course, is down here. This tells us we can't get achievements because we're not playing in Ironman mode. I could turn that on, and this turns green. If you're unfamiliar with what Ironman mode is, console cheats are disabled and the game is automatically saved regularly to a single file. Single file in games played with this setting, there's no turning back. Now, I'm not necessarily opposed to playing in Ironman mode, and I may do it. I haven't made a final decision on that yet, but I'm actually probably not going to click the start button here while we're talking about this, because I wanted to just kind of go over what my initial goals will be. And like I said, this is going to be really quick and short. So I'm looking maybe 10 minutes total, hopefully. So what I wanted to talk about is, what is it that we're going to try to do here with this? And honestly, the main thing is fixing up the economy. Okay, so you can think of Japan's economy, in 1936 as like a 2-pack a day salaryman wheezing along, right? Civilian factories are what we're going to focus on first. You might say, well, why not military factories? Well, we'll get to the military factories, but we need the civilian factories to be strong and productive while we're not at war, right? So that once we are at war, and even though we're going to probably start with China, we will start with China. I shouldn't say probably. We will start with China. We will go to war with China. When that happens, we can, we'll hopefully position ourselves somewhat to be successful. But then, once that war begins, we will put ourselves on more of a war footing and focus on military production. But the military production is going to have to be built on a backbone of civilian production. So you might say, well, what do civilian factories actually do? So they are the currency, you might say, of the economy. So it's kind of a self-propagating situation. It allows you to build more factories, build some infrastructure, build refineries, which is important because Japan was historically oil poor, I guess. And you need oil. Our ships will run on it. Our tanks will run on it. Our airplanes will run on it. Without any of those things, you can't fight a modern war as of, World War II, or today even. Build railways and ports, which will be important for moving stuff around. Allow us to trade for resources, right? Before the war, we will be conducting trade with as many countries as will be willing to trade with us for some of the things that we need. Japan is relatively wealthy in terms of steel. We can export steel and use the proceeds from that to bring in things that we're not strong on, like rubber and oil specifically. And then once fighting starts, civilian factories will help repair bomb damage. They'll keep the government tight and collaborative and build supply hubs. So these are all very important things that will need to be done in terms of getting things up to speed. After that, we will worry about what to do with China, a strategy to employ there. We're also going to focus heavily on our fighter aircraft. They are important. The Japanese pilots are very good at the beginning, and that's a good way to ensure that we can create and maintain air superiority. So we will create them. We'll put them in strategic locations like Korea, Shanghai. Some of these areas you see here that are flashing white. These are the areas that Japan currently controls. You can see we've got Taiwan down here and various islands and things, and we're going to use this to help us get situated for when we do end up fighting China. And China's in kind of a mess in terms of having their own internal problems with various factions and the communists and the nationalists and all of that stuff. So we do hold Korea, and we have a toehold here. Manchukuo is friendly, and we can position some of our fighters and close air support. That will be a secondary thing that we'll need to do, as well as airplanes that can be used on our carriers. We will have a carrier focus. Our naval focus is going to be heavily based on building a carrier fleet that we can use, because it's going to be necessary for any kind of Pacific expansion and or dealing with the British and the Americans. Should it come to that, or we decide to make it come to that one way or the other. So these are all things that I'm thinking of in terms of getting ahead. And like I said, the thing we're going to start with is the economy. So when I do the next video, and I'm going to try to keep this on a relatively frequent pace, and keep it bite-sized so you don't have to sit through 3 hours of video or whatever, to kind of chunk us through at least initial setups and things. And then I'll probably condense videos, and it won't be straight up gameplay where you watch me sitting here playing the game. There will be some of that, but it'll be kind of almost maybe in a more of an AAR type of thing, where I'll record as I play, and then I'll just come back and kind of chop it up and show you the highlights so you can follow along, see what I do, how I do it, and things like that as we move through the war. So that is going to do for this one. Like I said, I wanted this to be relatively short and sweet. Quick shout out to my members. I do appreciate you guys supporting the channel. That is always very welcome, and I am greatly appreciative of that. If you are interested in becoming a member, there's a join button under the player you can click for some information on how that works. Otherwise, I do thank everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have anything you'd like to say, feel free to make comments, ask questions, suggestions, etc. All that stuff's all good. I will do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. I'd also ask that maybe you consider liking, sharing, hyping, which is relatively new, and or even subscribing to the channel. Help the channel grow, help people see the videos, hopefully spread the word, and so on, right? So if you're willing to do any of those things, great. I will definitely be thankful. To those of you who are already subscribers, I appreciate the support. And thank you for subscribing and coming back and checking out videos as we move along. But that is going to do it for now. So thank you again for watching. But we're done for now. I'll see you soon here with my Hearts of Iron Japanese playthrough. But until then, I'm Joe. This is Hex Encountered. And as always, happy gaming.